go in its nuclear program, but no further. Watch this.
So if these are the facts, and they are, where should a red line be drawn? A red line should be drawn right here. Before Iran completes the second stage of nuclear enrichment necessary to make a bomb.
And the Prime Minister says that probably will happen by the summer, this coming summer, the latest, 6-7 months or so from now. Let's get reaction. Eric Erickson, what did you think of the presentation that Prime Minister Netanyahu made today?
I thought it was very simple and very effective. I can guarantee you what the headlines are going to be tomorrow on this issue. People are focused on what Netanyahu did. Interestingly enough, I think it's also kind of a Rorschach test on this election. A lot of conservatives and Republicans praised him. A lot of Democrats and liberals on Twitter and elsewhere thought it was silly and simplistic. But the fact of the matter is, we don't need to be paying attention to his red line. We need to be paying attention to Iran's nuclear weapons program, which was what his point was.
When you saw that, Roland, what did you think of that presentation?
Imagery matters. Think about it. To this day, we still remember Nikita Khrushchev with his shoe pounding on the podium at the United Nations. We remember General Colin Powell sitting there as a Secretary of State using those graphics to point out weapons of mass destruction in Iraq that we have yet to find. And so the imagery matters. That is going to be the front page photo across newspapers worldwide. But here's what's also interesting. On this same day, the New York Times is reporting right now that the Foreign Ministry, right before he spoke, released an internal report showing they could stop Iran without a military strike. So it's very interesting where you have Netanyahu saying this, drawing the red line, but then the Israelis releasing a report saying they could still stop Iran without a military strike.
They say that there could be tougher sanctions that maybe would get the job done. Here's another passage, Eric, of what the Prime Minister said today, directly referring to what's going on right now in the United States.
2 days ago from this podium, President Obama reiterated that the threat of a nuclear-armed Iran cannot be contained. I very much appreciate the President's position, as does everyone in my country. We share the goal of stopping Iran's nuclear weapons program. This goal unites the people of Israel. It unites Americans, Democrats and Republicans alike. And it is shared by important leaders throughout the world.
All right, Eric, when you heard that, what did you think?
Well, I thought he was trying to put the president on the spot on this. The headlines have been around for the last week or so that he hasn't really had a cordial relationship with the Prime Minister or been willing to take a meeting with the Prime Minister. I think the Prime Minister, by drawing the red line and saying what he said, just got himself an invitation to the White House, or at least a phone call with the president. I think it's going to happen tomorrow, I read.
Wolf, I got to disagree with that. First of all, they had a 1-hour conversation last week. What you saw Netanyahu doing was, frankly, extending an olive branch, because the last thing he needs is for there to be this sense of tension between the U.S. and Israel. And again, I go back to their foreign ministry. It's very interesting where you have the Prime Minister taking his hard line, but the foreign ministry of Israel saying something that is completely different, saying, no, we are in lockstep with America. Israel needs to have a strong relationship with America. The last thing they need is for the rest of the world to see those two at odds, because if we're at odds with each other, he can't get other countries to go along with the sanctions.
You know, the whole business of the sanctions are tough, Eric, and we did hear the Prime Minister in his speech today say that, yes, the sanctions are having an impact on the economy of Iran and on average Iranians, but he says so far he hasn't seen the sanctions have any impact on the enriching of uranium, the centrifuges, the move towards some sort of nuclear bomb. That's what the Prime Minister said today, and what Roland's referring to is a report that the Israeli Foreign Ministry released suggesting there's still more opportunity to tighten those sanctions, and maybe they would have the impact.
Well, maybe they would and maybe they wouldn't. I would like to hope that sanctions would work, but oftentimes democratic nations from the West impose sanctions to no avail until the bitter end, and ultimately we wind up having a war. And I think that's what his point was, is that we need to move rapidly here to that red line point of drawing the line, imposing all the sanctions we can impose quickly, because we're going to run out of time, and no one wants to have a war with Iran over this.
This is good cop, bad cop, Wolf. That is Netanyahu playing bad cop, Foreign Ministry playing good cop. You still get what you want in the end, and that's the sanctions.
All right, guys, stand by for a moment because there's more to discuss. By the way, the top of the Israeli is Michael Oren. He'll be joining us live. We'll discuss this issue at length.